It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio. Got a bit of anti-SJW news here, which I'm going to be kind of brutal in my assessment here because I think, it's time certain people grew the hell up. We've got in the news Family Guy phasing out gay jokes to the horror of many people on the right and some who consider themselves more liberal center. According to comicbook.com, and keep in mind we have to take whatever comicbook.com reports with a grain of salt because they are owned by CBS and they do tend to get a lot of stuff wrong. But according to this article by Charlie Ridgely, Family Guy to phase out gay jokes. Sunday night's new episode of Family Guy made one point very clear: Fox's long-running animated sitcom will be phasing out the use of gay jokes as it continues forward. During a new episode this weekend, Peter Griffin squared off against an animated version of Donald Trump, or, quote, the fat idiot who once had a hit television show and who over time has worn out his welcome, end quote, as he's called on the show. That's pretty much an accurate description. After taking a job as Trump's latest press secretary, Peter quits when he catches his new boss assaulting his daughter, Meg. During this exchange, Peter tells Trump that his show will be phasing out the use of gay jokes in future episodes. After the show, executive producers Rich Appel and Alex Sulkin spoke to TV Line and addressed the issue. And, I have to, let me just take a break here from quoting because I do feel that this is, an important distinction as to why they're phasing out gay jokes. It's not simply because they're bowing to some mythical political pressure. Far from it. And the portions I'm going to quote will pretty much demonstrate this. But once you hear the argument, I think you'll understand why this is not nearly as big a deal as some right-wing SJWs are making it out to be, and, why this outrage is actually quite wrong. So, let's continue here. Kind of yes, said Sulkin when asked if the show was truly phasing out the gay jokes. If you look at a show from 2005 or 2006 and put it side by side with a show from 2018 or 2019, they're going to have a few differences. Some of the things we felt comfortable saying and joking about back then, we now understand is not acceptable. It's almost unique to Family Guy, though I can think of one other show that's been on the air longer, Appel added, and that's a nod to The Simpsons. But if a show has literally been on the air for 20 years, the culture changes, and it's not us reacting and thinking they won't let us say certain things. No, we've changed too. The climate is different, the culture is different, and our views are different. They've been shaped by the reality around us, so I think the show has to shift and evolve in a lot of different ways. So let me just go ahead and highlight this paragraph here. It's assuming my browser will cooperate. Alright, it's not, my browser's frozen again. But yeah, let me continue here. In regards to the showdown with Trump in the episode, the producers explained that the goal of the show isn't to take one side of the political spectrum, and the history of the show backs it up. We've had some episodes in the past that had some left leanings in them, but we take hard shots all around, Sulkin said. We've made fun of the Clintons and Barack Obama. It's not like we would avoid anyone because we vote this way or that way. In any time that Family Guy has been on, we've pointed out idiots and the dumb things they do. This just happens to be our current person, and it would be no different if a Democrat were doing something idiotic, which they do. So, this is, like I said, it's a matter of, this is really a matter of say, okay, you know what? That this is times changing. It is things that were acceptable 20, 30 years ago that are no longer they're no longer appropriate. And that's true. I mean, if you look back at all the old Looney Tunes, Popeye, Tom and Jerry cartoons, MGM in general, even Disney cartoons, you go back and look at that stuff, and I'm not talking about the sanitized versions that you get today on home video. I'm talking about the original uncut versions. And you go back and look at these, and you can probably find them on the Library of Congress website in their archives. But you go back and look at these, and you realize all these horribly racist stereotypes that, you look at them today, and you wonder, what the hell were these people really thinking when they did all this shit? And you didn't catch it as a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old because you didn't have the mental capacity to appreciate why this stuff was wrong back then and why you really should not be doing it today. And it's the same thing with Family Guy where, okay, yeah, jokes that you used to be able to make 10, 15, 20 years ago are no longer acceptable because society has changed. And we ourselves, as audience members, have changed, or presumably we've changed. I mean, like I said, 8-year-old me is not going to feel the same way about stuff as 44-year-old me. It's like with the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer brouhaha that took place over the holidays, where people were going apeshit over what was really a joke article on the Huffington Post that featured tweets from people who were watching as adults and pointing out some of the stuff that they notice as adults that they didn't notice when they were kids. And this is the same thing. As an adult, you can look back at episodes from Family Guy from 20 years ago and think, okay, you know what? Yeah, that's really not as funny now as it was when I first watched it because, I'm a different person than I was back then. So, this is something that I think people need to calm down over. This is not people bowing to SJW stuff from the left. If anything, I think the backlash is coming from the SJWs on the right. And for those of you who may wonder what the hell I'm talking about, because people might say, okay, well, but SJWs are on the left. Well, no, because, SJW, what does it stand for? Social Justice Warrior. Well, social justice warrior implies social justice war, and there are two sides in any war. So if you've got SJWs on the left, you've got SJWs on the right. And what we're seeing from the right-wing SJWs is basically they're whining because they can't tell homophobic jokes or racist jokes or sexist jokes anymore and get away with it without being called on it. And why are you clinging or trying to cling to being able to offend people over who and what they are? I mean, yeah, you've got some comedians like the late Don Rickles who made careers out of telling what on the surface were racist jokes or other bigoted jokes, but he always only ever did it in the context of getting people to laugh at themselves and their own stereotypes, and to not take those stereotypes too seriously, because at the end of the day, the kind of jokes that you might tell about one group can easily be applied to you, and so learn to laugh at yourself. But he always knew his limits and how far he could take it, and he always took time out from his comedy routines to remind you, as the audience, that, this was all in good fun. It was not meant to offend you or insult you for who you were or what you were. And, that's a notable exception. But today, a lot of the jokes that were acceptable in the past just are not funny anymore. Because we now realize, a lot of this stuff really does seem designed to ridicule and demean us for who we are, not because of, topical situations. And if you're really saying that you cannot be funny unless you're making jokes at other people's expense over who and what they are, well, then you weren't really funny to begin with. And you can actually tell new jokes and find ways to make people laugh that don't involve tearing other people down. So that's just my opinion. take it or leave it for what it's worth. If you like what you've heard and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. And if you want to support the channel, feel free to head over to our Patreon page or Subscribe Star page. Become a donor, help us keep the lights on. You get the rewards listed in the sidebars. This is Micah Wilk for the Wilk Report saying take care, good night, I'm out.